There are pains that you can't explain. There are emotions you try to hide even from God. But what few people know, the reason is that the Psalms were not written for strong people. They were written for broken hearts. David wept. He shouted. He questioned. She felt fear, anger, abandonment, guilt, and anguish. And yet, God called this man after my own heart. Perhaps the problem isn't feeling too much. Perhaps the problem is not knowing what to do with what you're feeling. Today, you will discover 15 secrets of emotional wisdom hidden in the Psalms. Truths that heal from within. Lessons that strengthen the soul. Words that reorganize confused emotions. Stay until the end. Because one of these secrets might be exactly what your soul needs to breathe again. The psalm is not born in a silent palace. He is born in the chaos of the soul. In the midst of the pressure. Deep down, in a pain that no one sees. And here's a secret that changes everything. God never demanded that David hide his feelings in order to be accepted. On the contrary, the Psalms reveal to us that the first step to emotional wisdom is having a safe place to feel. And that place has always been the presence of God. David didn't write Psalms when he was emotionally stable. He wrote when his heart was heavy, when his mind was confused, when fear struck hard. Instead of running away from his emotions, he took them directly to God. That's the first secret hidden in the Psalms. Feeling is not spiritual weakness. Weakness is pretending everything is all right when your soul is screaming inside. Psalm 62 declares, "Pour out your heart before him." Pouring out is not about controlling. It's not about measuring words. It's about opening your soul without filters. David understood something profound. God is not frightened by intense emotions. He is not offended by tears. He does not reject difficult questions. God's presence is not a court to condemn feelings. It is a refuge to welcome them. The second secret of emotional wisdom in the Psalms is learning to name what you feel. David didn't just say he was feeling bad. He said his soul was downcast, his bones were troubled, his heart was faint. When you name the emotion, you begin to take away its power to dominate you. Unrecognized emotions become internal prisons. Emotions presented to God become paths to healing. The third secret is understanding that the Psalms are dialogues, not monologues of despair. David spoke with God before allowing anxiety to take control. He prayed before surrendering to fear. He wrote before exploding inside. This teaches us that emotional maturity is not the absence of pain, but knowing who to talk to when pain arises. Many people today talk to everything except God. They talk to fear. They talk to guilt. They talk to the past. But the Psalms teach us to reverse this order. First God, then everything else. The fourth secret is perhaps the most liberating. God accepts even confused prayers. Some Psalms begin in deep anguish and don't end with clear answers. They end with trust. David didn't always understand what was happening, but he knew in whom he was trusting. That's emotional wisdom. It's not about having all the answers. It's about knowing where to rest even when they don't come. The Psalms show us that God's presence doesn't require prior emotional balance. It produces balance along the way. When you learn to feel in the right presence, your emotions cease to be enemies and become instruments of spiritual growth. And it all starts here, when you stop running away from what you feel, and He begins to present everything before God. There are times when the soul feels heavy for no clear reason. You wake up tired. He slept, but he didn't rest. She smiles on the outside, but something is wrong on the inside. The Psalms do not ignore this state of the soul. They enter into it, and they reveal a profound secret. Emotional overload is not a sign of spiritual failure. It is a sign that the soul needs to be heard. Psalm 42 begins with a question that has resonated throughout the centuries. Why are you downcast, O my soul? David doesn't shy away from the feeling. He converses with it. This is the fifth secret of the emotional wisdom of the Psalms. Speak to your soul before despair speaks for you. Those who don't converse with their own soul end up being dominated by unfiltered thoughts. David did not accept everything he felt as absolute truth. He felt sadness, but he did not allow sadness to define who he was. He felt fear, but he reminded his soul where hope lay. Emotional wisdom is this ability to confront feelings with God's truth, without denying the pain, but without submitting to it. The sixth secret is learning to wait without hardening your heart. Waiting is tiring. Waiting is exhausting. Waiting often hurts. But the Psalms reveal a different kind of waiting. David said, "I waited patiently for the Lord." It wasn't an empty, stagnant, meaningless wait. It was a wait sustained by the confidence that God was acting even when the heavens seemed silent. Many people lose the sweetness of their hearts while they wait. They become bitter. They close themselves off. They harden. The Psalms teach that waiting should not rob the soul of its sensitivity. On the contrary, waiting on God strengthens from within what time tries to weaken. The seventh secret is hidden in simple yet profound words. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Psalm 23 reveals that rest is also spiritual. God does not lead emotionally exhausted people into unnecessary battles. Before restoring destiny, He restores the soul. Before demanding strength, He offers rest. Ignoring the weariness of the soul is disobeying a spiritual principle. David understood that restoration begins within. Green pastures are not a luxury. They are a necessity for those who carry too much weight in their hearts. The eighth secret is remembering who God is when emotions try to erase spiritual memory. In moments of overload, the mind forgets quickly. It forgets deliverances. It forgets promises. It forgets past faithfulness. That's why David repeated truths. He sang promises. He declared who God always was, even when he didn't yet see what he would do. A weary soul needs no accusations. No charge required. Needs a reminder. The Psalms teach us that when the soul is burdened, the way forward is not to run away, nor to remain silent, nor to isolate oneself. The way forward is to return to the truth, to rest in His presence, and to allow God, with patience, to reorganize what emotions have disrupted. And whoever learns this, discovers something powerful. The soul can even grow weary, but in God, she never breaks. There are pains that don't go away with time. They just hide. They remain stored in memory, in the body, in reactions, in silence. The Psalms don't romanticize this kind of pain. They expose it. They bleed. And that's precisely why they reveal profound secrets of emotional healing that many ignore. David was wounded by those close to him, betrayed, persecuted, wronged. And he didn't pretend it didn't hurt. This is the ninth secret of the emotional wisdom of the Psalms. God doesn't heal wounds that we insist on denying. David took his old pains to God's presence. He didn't hide resentments behind pretty words. He opened his heart and said, "This hurt me, this wounded me, this still hurts." Many people try to move on without dealing with what's in the past. But untreated wounds turn into disproportionate reactions, constant distrust, and emotional burden. The Psalms teach us that healing begins when pain is presented before God, not when it is buried. The 10th secret is perhaps one of the most difficult, not to nurture emotional revenge. David was honest about his anger, but he didn't channel it into action. He placed his feelings before God and left the judgment in his hands. This is not weakness. This is spiritual maturity. The Psalms show that feeling indignation is not the problem. The problem is allowing indignation to rule the heart. David understood that when revenge takes control, the soul becomes a prisoner of that which has wounded it. That is why he surrendered the right to retaliate to God. The 11th secret lies in the power of lament. Biblical lament is not empty complaint. It is pain with faith. It is weeping that still believes. Many psalms begin in tears, but do not end in despair. Lament is a bridge between pain and hope. David lamented, but he did not abandon God. He wept, but he remained. He questioned, but he did not turn away. This teaches us that emotional maturity is not the absence of suffering, but remaining in God's presence even when everything hurts. The 12th secret reveals the heart of inner healing. God rebuilds broken emotions. Psalm 51 shows a man broken inside saying, "Create in me a pure heart." David knew he needed more than just forgiveness. He needed inner restoration. God not only forgives the mistake, He heals the emotional impact of the mistake. He not only cleanses the guilt, He strengthens the heart so as not to repeat the same cycle. The Psalms teach us that God does not discard wounded emotions. He heals. He restores. He transforms scars into silent testimonies. And when that healing begins, something profoundly changes. The pain spirals out of control, The wound no longer dictates the decisions, and the soul can breathe freely again. Because those who allow God to heal them from within are no longer held hostage by what hurt them in the past. There comes a point in the spiritual journey when the soul stops merely surviving and begins to mature. The Psalms reveal this turning point. Not because the pain is gone, but because the heart has learned where to find support. David's final songs don't spring from the absence of problems. They spring from a faith that has traversed pain and emerged deeper. And here is the 13th secret of the emotional wisdom of the Psalms. Praise before change. David didn't praise only when everything was resolved. He praised because he trusted. Praise in the Psalms is not a response to the miracle. It is a declaration of who God is, even when the miracle has not yet arrived. When David said that the Lord reigns, he wasn't describing favorable circumstances. He was affirming an eternal truth. This is the foundation of an emotionally wise soul. Emotions fluctuate. Circumstances change. But the throne of God remains. The 14th secret is aligning emotions with truth, not with the situation at hand. The Psalms show David teaching his own soul to submit to spiritual reality. He felt fear but declared confidence. He felt insecurity, but proclaimed that the Lord was his fortress. This is not emotional denial. It is spiritual alignment. A mature soul is not one that is never shaken. It is one that knows where to run when it is shaken. David understood that allowing emotions to lead without spiritual direction generates inner turmoil. That is why he constantly brought his soul back to the truth. The 15th secret completes this cycle with profound depth. A soul anchored in God. The Psalms reveal a heart that has learned not to depend on the emotion of the day, the news of the moment, or the immediate response. David anchored his identity in God's faithfulness. An anchor won't stop the storm. The anchor prevents deviation. That is the difference between an immature soul and a wise soul. The immature soul is carried away by everything it feels. The wise soul feels, but does not get lost. It knows where it stands. The Psalms show us that true emotional stability doesn't come from absolute control of emotions, but from constant surrender to God. When He reigns, fear loses its power. When He governs, anxiety diminishes. When He is the center, the heart finds balance. David ends many psalms in praise because he learned something essential. God did not change because emotions changed. God did not turn away because feelings wavered. God remained faithful in all phases. And that is the mark of an emotionally wise soul. She trusts when she feels it. She trusts even when she doesn't feel it. She trusts Him because she knows Him. The Psalms do not promise us a life without pain. They teach us to live with a steadfast heart even when pain appears. And whoever learns this discovers rest. Not because everything is resolved, but because God is in control. Perhaps you've arrived here exhausted on the inside, with mixed emotions, with questions that no one heard. The Psalms show us that God is not looking for people who never fall. He seeks hearts that know where to run when they fall. If this message resonated with you, don't let this moment pass in silence. Leave your like now. This simple gesture allows this word to reach other souls who are also struggling in silence. Subscribe to the channel. Here the Bible is not superficial. She goes deep. Heal the heart. It restores the soul. Strengthen your faith for difficult times. Share this video with someone who needs inner peace. That needs direction. It's important to remember that God still reigns. May the Psalms not be just reading material for you. May they be a shelter. Let them be a voice. May they be emotional wisdom for every day of your life.